keep your camera on?
So 1 minute. Mm. Can you see me?
Just no, not yet. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
Now I can see.
Yes.
Okay, Ritvik. So, can you tell me a bit about your technical skills that you are having, right? About your current project that you are working on,
Mm.
and which skills you are using on that project, right? And what are your roles and responsibility on that project?
So should I explain from the starting or in this company only?
Yes, in this company only.
So so right now I am working with KMG IT Services, which is located in Udyog Vihar, Gurgaon. So right now I am working in a hybrid environment in which 50% of that includes internal operations and 50% of that includes cloud. So if I talk about the cloud part, so my task is to create the resources and for the production environment, whatever the client requirements are. Apart from that, install services which are required and work upon them. And apart from that, server monitoring, health checkups, etc., and overall management of their IT infra in cloud. Apart from that, if I talk about DevOps, so several projects are using DevOps part in our company. So those include so cloud part includes AWS and various types of general services in it. And if I talk about DevOps part, so we are using basically Linux in that and Docker, Jenkins. So these kind of general tools in DevOps. So and currently the projects are like Convelo, Lamb, and Commodore. So these kind of projects, mix kind of projects. And if I talk about application development project, so RideShare is one project. And apart from that, we have dedicated development and testing teams in our company.
Okay,
So my task includes so 50% of that includes the internal in which uh, includes firewalls, servers, and all those stuff, and 50% of that includes cloud, and 20 to 30% consists of DevOps.
okay. So you are almost playing three roles, right?
Mhm.
One operations role, DevOps roles, and
Mhm.
different type of roles are there.
Mhm.
Okay. So if we consider Jenkins, so which syntax you are using to write the Jenkins, right?
So,
Jenkins scripts.
so there are two types of script. One is like a scripted format, and one is using the declarative. So for that, Jenkins file is used. So we are using both of them. So the entire team is responsible for right before applying that file to the environment. So in shell and bash area, so we can write the shell as well as the dockerize command. And then if I talk about the Jenkins files, so we create we start with the Jenkins file syntax agent and node. And apart from that, we specify the various stages to create the CI/CD pipe.
Okay. Let us say in Jenkins you are having one Git repository, right?
Mhm.
And in one Git repository there are two folders,
Mhm.
and in two folders there are two applications. One is Java application, one is .NET application,
Mhm.
right? So how will write down a Jenkins file where you will build both the applications in same Jenkins file?
So we will separate the stages, one for the .NET and one for the Java. Because if I talk about the various stages, so starting with the so we start with dev stage, after that QA stage and prod stage. So this will be so this depends upon what the scenario is. So if I talk about the Java, so that might be used for the front end. So front end will is executed first and the data is queried back. So in .NET, we might have the database. So first of all, we will create for the Java, and second stage will be for that. So in this way, the various stages we will use.
And how you will use the different agents, because one application will require Linux agent, right? And the second application will require Windows agent.
So multiple like soft vendors I have not created yet, but so we will use another agent.
Okay. And how you manage the secrets, right? Let us say there is one secret related to database credentials and other things in Jenkins. How you manage those?
So uh, we have one administrative credential. We keep it. DevOps team keep it with themselves. And apart from that, if there is any requirement to give the that some part to the user, so we create go to configure Jenkins, and we create certain users and give the that Jenkins part to the users based upon their restricted access. And apart from that,
I'm not talking about that. I am saying, let us say one Java website is there, right? And you are building that application using some agent, okay? And the developer of the Java application were having some database credentials that he was using in the Java application, right? And he is having some configuration file there in Java application. Definitely, he will not store those credentials, or he will not push those credentials into the Git. Okay, for development and test environment, maybe he was pushing those credentials into the Git. But for the production, he will never push those credentials yes. into the Git, because it will be visible to anyone. So how you handles those cases in Jenkins, so that in case of production, those credentials should be supplied from Jenkins itself, rather than a developer will push those credentials into the Git.
So this scenario I have not worked.
Okay, because this is very basic scenario. Because in production credentials, because the DevOps engineer only knows about the production related things, and developer should not know anything about those credentials. So how you will replace into the file of the Java application that, okay, for production these credentials should be used rather than others. Okay, let it be. Have you deployed any application in Kubernetes using Jenkins?
So if I talk about the Kubernetes in our company, we have only one project, and that too requires only installation part, and the client engineers do themselves. But yes, Kubernetes I have basic experience only. So if I talk about
how much you use the Docker?
Docker, I have average experience, so I will rate myself 3.5 out of 5.
Oh, okay, 3.5 out of 5.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is the Docker image?
So Docker image is the basically the image which when run results into the container.
And sometimes we use Docker Compose as well.
So if we want to run multiple images into a single file, for that we use Docker Compose. So that file is written in YAML format. So we can use the various kind of images. So suppose there is one application booking a cab, so that will require a front end and a back end, and so that will require multiple containers and multiple images. So for that we will use Docker Compose file, and after that we will write a simple command of Docker Compose up, and our application will run. Okay. So what is the volume mapping in Docker? So volume mapping is something to make the data permanent. So one is bind volume and one is one is bind volume and one is persistent volume. So if we are mapping a particular folder to the volume, so that is known as bind volume. And if we are creating a permanent volume, for those are known as persistent volume. So the recommended way is to do via persistent volume.
Okay. Okay. And how, let us say, in one Docker container you have deployed one web application, and in one Docker container you have deployed one web API or REST API.
Mm.
So how you will connect both
So,
of them?
so we can so different container communicate with themselves using various kind of networks. So the default network is bridge, and apart from that, host and then the other network types. And apart from that, if we want to create our own network, so we will Docker network create is the command. If we want to check our network, so Docker network ls is the command. So in that way, those will communicate.
How you access the Docker image from Docker registry in your Jenkins file?
Please pardon.
I'm asking that how you push a new version of a Docker image to Docker registry from Jenkins. Let us say new web application is there, right?
Mm.
Some web application is there, and you want to deploy that into Docker container, right? So definitely you will have to create a Docker image for that.
Yes, yes.
So you will build the application using Jenkins,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will create an image, and then you will push that image through Docker registry, right?
Yes, yes. So we will
Yes.
use so the commands are similar if we use shell area in the Jenkins. So we will use the Docker push command, supply credential, and we will push to Docker registry, the centralized
Okay. And
registry.
okay. And where you store those Docker credentials? Because you cannot hard code those credentials into the Jenkins
Mm-hmm. So,
file.
so the
So
credentials are stored that in registry only because in the command line. So I have done this thing using the command line. So it asks for the user ID and password. So we supply our default registry credentials, and in that way this goes.
okay, so you have not done this using Jenkins.
I have Dockerized the containers, but pushing the image I have used the command line.
Okay, so that is not the part of the Jenkins file, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have pushed those images manually.
And
Did not.
Manu. So if I talk about the Docker, so the creation of images and the creation of the containers, so those type of things I did in via Jenkins.
Okay, okay. And how much you use PowerShell in your day-to-day activities?
I have no exposure to PowerShell.
No exposure.
Mhm. So we have only
Okay,
used Terraform in an independent.
okay, okay. So you know Terraform as well, right?
Yes. So
So
there
what
are
are the
very
different commands that you use in Terraform?
so first of all there are various types of tool for infrastructure as a code. So if I talk about the AWS, so CloudFormation is one tool. So if I talk about the Terraform, so that is the individual independent tool, and apart from that, it is also comes with the Azure and AWS. So if you want to install the Terraform, so install Terraform is the command, and after that we Terraform init, and after that we write the all the general commands like resource type and source, and apart from that various ARNs and the types of instance IDs and resource IDs in our coding. And after that, when our configuration is complete, we apply the Terraform apply command. And apart from that, if we want to destroy our infrastructure, so that is done using that Terraform destroy command, and we can save our configuration in .tf. As far as I remember, the .tf file, and keep it with us, so that basically in the case of the disaster recovery scenario, we can deploy it in a very less time
Okay, okay, okay. And where you store your Terraform state
in S3.
in S3 bucket?
Mm.
Okay,
So by default,
okay,
that is
okay,
stored in S3.
okay, okay, okay. Let us say you have deployed few resources, right? one RDS, one EC2 instance, one S3 bucket using the Terraform on AWS. Right? Now you want to remove S3 bucket. How you will remove that?
So we will go to the configuration and remove in the configuration remove the S3 part.
Okay, S3 part you will remove. Okay, let us say someone by mistake, rather than removing it from the Terraform script, they manually logged into the AWS console and removed the S3 bucket from there. So how the Terraform script will behave when you will run it next time? So because there will be mismatch, right? Terraform script is saying something else, but actual resources are something else. So how the Terraform script will behave in that case? So this kind of scenario I have not faced, but there will be some glitches in the infrastructure. Okay. Any idea? Any guess that if it will create the S3 bucket again, or it will Terraform script will remove S3 bucket related part from its state? Because yeah. So how it will behave? So I think the infrastructure will be created with no effect because. Oh, okay. So it will create S3 bucket again. Okay. Okay, which AWS services you are using mostly? So EC2 instances and VPC, security groups, ACLs, so all these kind of general services, and apart from that, SNS, SQS, and RDS services, and lifecycle manager. So these all the general kind of services. So as a CI/CD tool, you use Jenkins. And everything is independent. We don't rely on the cloud. So these kind of services are like Elastic Container Service and Paraguard services are already present in AWS. So we use in an independent way, because if tomorrow cloud changes its terms and conditions and if hikes the prices exponentially, so that will be a problem for us. So we don't keep that dependency on the cloud. We just create the EC2 instances and according to our requirement and install them in an independent way. Any certifications you are having? So up till last year June, I was a CCNA certified person, but this company changed my profile because prior to this company, I was a network engineer in Cisnet and as well as in HCL. So, but right now I am preparing for AWS certification. AWS, which certifications you have preparing? Associate. For AWS? Yeah, associate. Okay, associate architect. Yeah, associate developer. Associate architect. Associate architect. Okay, so what is the use of this Prometheus and Grafana? How you are using? Prometheus and Grafana are the monitoring tools. So we, if you want to create the Prometheus and Grafana tools, so the best way to use those is the Linux. Install those Prometheus and Grafana. And, Grafana is the more graphical manner of the monitoring. So we have to pull using data source Jenkins, and if I talk about Jenkins, it gives us the various metrics, and we have to query uh, our metrics. So after querying, it supplies various kinds of logs. So basically, Prometheus is a bit difficult to understand. So we can pull Prometheus in Grafana and have more visual kind of thing. It gives a very crisp and clear graphs. Okay. So you are having understanding of Azure as well, right? Little bit. Okay, little bit. How much? So we have a .NET team also in our company. So there were some databases and server crashes in our internal kind of thing. So we used Azure to migrate the databases and the creation of basic VMs, etc., for a testing purpose. Because some of the clients are in .NET are in
the that .NET part, and so the compatibility between Azure and .NET is better. So for testing purposes, we create a VM and create IIS and host basic application for testing purpose that is not for pro. Because the problem with Azure is that it has some costing issue, and apart from that, it is works a bit slow than AWS. So
Okay, so Ritvik, I saw that people are not using the CI/CD of AWS itself.
hmm.
Why we are preferring the Jenkins? Why we are not using the CI/CD of AWS itself? Because AWS also provide pipeline functionality, right?
So AWS provides CI/CD and containerization and Kubernetes and COPS services. So the main reason behind that is in our company is that so if tomorrow the cloud does something wrong, something dirty with the cost kind of thing and changes the resources in their manner, and so that might be difficult for us to understand. So for that, we have to keep more and more in an independent way. So and apart from that, Jenkins is a free uh, tool which is given by the Java, and it has around 1,000 plugins, and it is very smooth and lightweight. So in
Okay,
our company, that is the reason we use the in an independent.
okay, okay, Ritvik. Okay, okay. So Ritvik, that was all from my end. Anything from your end?
No, sir, no. Uh,
Okay, and how much you are getting there in your company, and what is the reason you are leaving?
So my reason is for the career progression, and due to COVID, some of the projects have already been rolled out, and apart from that, my CTC is 3.2. So due to COVID, they are not increasing that much. So these are the reason for the
Okay, so what is
for,
the total experience?
for total experience is 4 years 6 months, which includes
Okay.
prior to this company, I was in IT infra. So I started my career with the desktop support, and I have worked with a US project, which was a DBR project. After that, I did a CCNA and was back in operations in HCL as an L1 network engineer. So after that, I joined Cisnet Global Technologies. So there I was responsible for two projects. One was SME and one was value support. And apart from that, there also 50% of internal network was there. In this company, so they hired me for networks, but the network part was not that much. So no, there was no project in network. So that was about to come, but that did come. So the company asked me to move to server and cloud side rather than that. So cloud was introduced after 6 months. I joined this company. So it is in a very mature kind of state and not implemented in that professional manner. So that is the reason for the. So if I talk about the you had asked me to like database credential kind of scenarios, so those kind of scenarios we haven't faced till now. And if I talk about the core concepts like Kubernetes, etc., so those are done by the client side engineers, so they don't trust us. So in that
Okay,
way,
okay, okay.
and
They,
50,
you already mentioned that client is also genius.
yeah. And apart from that, if I talk about the Kubernetes, so one project is that which is very complex, so they don't rely on us because the scenario gets very complex sometimes in Kubernetes. So we are in like junior DevOps engineer kind of a role, and 50%
Okay,
of it is in IT internal operations. So,
okay, okay. So Ankush, that was all. I think that was nice to talk with you.
mm,
Okay,
mm.
and I will submit my feedback to our HR department, and they will get back to you. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, thank you, thank
Oh,
you. Thanks for your time,
oh,
and have a nice day.
okay, thank you. Same to